tell me which team you think's going to win the Stanley Cup. Tell me which team you watch and say to yourself, man, I wish the Penguins could do more of that. Come on, be honest here. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates where you found this. It's funny because you have your pick of a lot of different types of teams, especially just going between the East and the West. The two Canadian teams that are left, Oilers and Canucks, have a bunch of offensive talent. It's easy just watching Vancouver and thinking it'd be nice if JT Miller was playing for the home team, meaning the hometown team. You look at Edmonton and it's obvious they've got their Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and all that other fun stuff. They're never going to win anything with it, but they've got it. And the it part is cool. There might not be a team that's got the depth that Dallas has. And that makes the Stars look like they might even be the favorite out of that side. But you don't watch the Stars and go, man, I'd really like to be the Stars, you know? And then there's the East. The Rangers, yeah. We'll just kind of set them off to the side. It just feels distasteful. The Hurricanes have some of that. The Hurricanes have that effectiveness, that discipline, that efficiency with the puck that you could see very much being a good fit for the Mike Sullivan system if that's your thing. You know where I'm headed here, right? Okay, good. Let's all just get there and talk about the Florida Panthers. When I see the Panthers in the playoffs, what impresses me the most about them and the way they conduct themselves, or should I say the way that they really don't conduct themselves, is that they play the same way all year long. When the Panthers came into PPG Paints Arena this past season, they were in the Penguins' faces. They were doing stuff that you could very easily characterize as being dumb, reckless, irresponsible, bad times of the game. Didn't matter. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. They have an established personality, and unlike most cases where the personality is set or even created by the head coach, this really isn't Paul Maurice's MO. What Maurice did was he looked out there and he saw Matthew Tkachuk. They went and they added Sam Bennett. They got these nails on the chalkboard types and said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come at you and we're really going to frustrate you. And they even took it to the point. Now, I remember Maurice talking about this upon the visit to Pittsburgh in the regular season, where the Panthers would actually not that they egg on crowds. It's not like it's, pro wrestling or whatever, but they understood that the crowds were going to get on them. They knew that there was going to be a lot of booing. There was going to be booing of the officials. And there was going to be this negative sentiment in the arena aimed somewhere between them and the refs, but still aimed and still vocal. And he invited the players to embrace that, to actually go seek that, to create it. Go ahead. Be the bad guy. We're all right with that. Now, you add on to that the talent that they've got. You want to talk about depth. I don't know that they have Dallas's depth, but they've got it. And you watch them on the power play and you see that it's not just the first unit, but, they put that second unit out there with Bennett and our old friend Evan Rodriguez. And you see how they turned Sam Reinhart into a 50-goal scorer because he's skating alongside Alexander Barkov. And there's a lot there. But what gets me the most about them is that personality. And I gotta tell you, I don't think you're going to see that in Pittsburgh like for a long, long time. You won't see it in Sullivan's tenure. He just does not have any stomach for any situation that could put the Penguins in the box. Which, by the way, is why Rodriguez is playing for Florida and not for Pittsburgh, because of the penalty that Evan took that cost the Penguins dearly in that series against the Rangers. But I'm not going to lie to you. That's the team that I watch and I say, man, that'd be fun. Like if I was, well, first of all, if there was such a thing as a hockey fan in Florida, and I mean a real live diehard, not the ones that are showing up now at the Panthers arena pretending they were there all along, but you're talking about an infinitesimally small group of core and diehard fans there. If I was one of them, man, I'd love that team. All of their flaws and foils and everything, I would just love that team. And man, can you imagine what Pittsburgh would do with that? Oh, don't even. When we come back, J1Q. Today's J1Q comes from Jason, who says, DK, I wonder if players like Jared McCann, Evan Rodriguez, Teddy Bluger would be productive on the current Penguins, because from a distance, it looks like our trash became our opponent's treasures. I mean, you kind of have me there, Jason, except for, including McCann. I mean, McCann was never deemed trash. The only trash as related to McCann was the move itself by Ron Hextall. It was just idiotic. That's not at all the player that you would expose in the Seattle expansion draft. You would find a way to protect him and not Jeff Carter. I mean, they protected Carter in the expansion draft. I mean, he should never get off the hook for that one specifically. Not just that he lost McCann, but that he protected Carter and thought Ronnie Francis is going to go, yeah, man, I need a 37-year-old who's just totally washed up and can't do anything anymore except win faceoffs. Let's do that. But the other guys that you mentioned, Evan Rodriguez, I touched on in the opening segment. Bluger is playing a nice role in Vancouver, and that's what Teddy needs. Teddy's always someone who's got to be tied to like a third line or a fourth line where he can go in both directions. He can support in both directions. He doesn't necessarily lead either of those lines, but he's the guy that just kind of ties everything together. The guy you didn't mention, though, is one that I'm surprised more Penguins fans don't mention when you watch him play, and he's also on Vancouver, and that's Sam Lafferty. I have a story to tell about Sam, and it goes back to a game that was played really, really early in Sam's tenure with the Penguins. It was in Winnipeg, and he was very impressive. I mean, at all points on the rink, not just, being physical or being a big guy. And he's always obviously had the speed, but he popped a couple of goals in that time. And I asked Mike Sullivan after that game up there, just a couple of questions about what he saw as Sam's ceiling. And he gave a kind of a mid answer, or he didn't really commit in one direction or the other. And then we get done with the formal part of the press conference, and we're just talking casually here. And he made it pretty clear that he saw Sam as being, a bottom six guy. That's just where he's going to be. That's how he's going to be defined. And he didn't think that Sam would benefit from being cast or perceived in a more ambitious role. Now, that said, he's right. Okay, if you look at how Sam's being used with the Canucks, it's that. Now, he's got, the license or whatever to score goals, obviously. No coach is ever going to stop you from doing that. But he's shown more offense, I think, with the Canucks than what the Penguins thought he'd be capable of. And it's one of a million reasons why I really don't like putting ceilings on the heads of younger players who will occasionally find themselves a goal. You never know who's going to step forward and be the next. Here comes a name I'm going to cite, right? Yeah, the next Brian Rust. Because Rust was supposed to be that. When Rust came up, he was, wow, how to describe him? He was a bizarre player when he came up. He was operating with blinders for the most part. Couldn't see the rink at all. I don't know that he wanted to see the rink. He was just skating out there almost by himself. And because of his speed and some other natural abilities, he was able to get away with some of it, but not for very long. He expanded his repertoire in a way that I don't know that I've seen from any player here, not even Pascal Dupuis, who went from fourth line to first line. And that's why you don't do that. That's why I didn't like some of the early labeling of Drew O'Connor when he came up. Go hit everybody, Drew. Hit him. Okay, well, who hits in 2024? If you hit now, your coaches tell you that you're out of position. There's a time to be physical. There's a place for it. But that was also kind of telling DOC in a way, here's your ceiling. This is your top. And as we've witnessed from him, he doesn't need to have that ceiling. Not exactly what you asked, but I've been watching Sam in these playoffs and I've been thinking about it. And, it felt like a good place there to throw that into the answer to your question here. I have a lot of respect for what Sam's been able to do in the league. He's made something of himself. That's to his credit. That's to Jim Rutherford's credit and to Patrick Allvin's credit for seeing that through in Vancouver. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins, and we're going to do another one of these tomorrow.